We've had a chance here to watch the new look Oilers, if you want to describe as that. And I think Murphy, Dickinson, and Doc are all sort of playing the role that they're supposed to be playing right now, and we'll see how it works out. They win a game last night against Vegas, in which we've all been talking about how they need to defend, and then they defend and only allow 2 goals. And they got a bunch of people being like, I still don't like their running things. But I think so far it looks like a decent deadline for the Oilers.
So far it does. And so let's just backtrack a little bit here. People were shocked when the Toronto Maple Leafs got a first and a fifth for Nicholas Roy.
Yeah.
Surprised is absolutely accurate. I was shocked, so I'll include myself in that. Edmonton had interest in Nick Roy, and the package that ended up going to the Chicago Blackhawks, Mangiapane the first, all of that. The critics of Tree Living in Toronto were like, well, why didn't you get involved in that? Well, there were discussions. There was interest. The problem is that Stan Moman rightly had Jason Dickinson higher up his list of wanted players than Nicholas Roy. I loved the commentary from both Dickinson and Connor Murphy when they arrived in Edmonton, understanding wholeheartedly what their job is, what their role is. And it doesn't matter that there's a change of team here. They're brought in because of the strengths that they provide defensively, right? So I think Stan Moman did good work. The problem is it going to matter? And we don't know that. Right? We're not going to know that until, they win the Stanley Cup, because they got to Game 7. I still look at this roster in general, and when I look at teams comparatively, the Colorado Avalanche are an absolute wagon right now, right? So is Edmonton better than Colorado? I don't believe that they are. Not on paper, they are not, right? But Edmonton's also been to the Stanley Cup final and lost Game 7 last year. So, the only level of success is to hoist that Stanley Cup. But I do think they're better post-trade deadline than they were before, and I think that's pretty easy to see.
Well, and just sticking in the Pacific then, and we saw the Golden Knights last night, and we just talked about the Oilers deadline. How would you then weigh that compared to what Vegas did or could not do? We always talk about their management team, getting creative and finding ways to do things. The goaltending remains the same, probably an Achilles heel has been and probably will continue to be. So, compared to, I know the Ducks, they lead the division this morning, bringing in Carlson, astute move there. But what do you think about this Vegas team, to which last night, I wasn't too impressed.
Yeah, they look very blah last night. Like there
is something going on there. Don't know exactly what it is, but it does feel like they're lacking a little bit of juice, right? But we also know that this group, especially with the leadership that they have with the Vegas Golden Knights, can flip that switch, and they can grab momentum and maintain it for long stretches. So I still look at them as a top contender, even though they haven't played like that for a length of time now. And it's got to change. It has to change. The easy mark on speculation with Vegas was goaltending. I didn't believe that Kelly McCrimmon was going to do anything with his goaltending. Now, that's not to say that he wouldn't have had conversations. I'm sure that he did. Managers talk about absolutely everything. My sense, even going into the Olympic break, was if the Golden Knights did anything, it would be more about adding depth and, adding, the Cole Smith ad from the Nashville Predators is a nice ad. That guy is strong on the forecheck. He has some size. He's gritty in your bottom six. He's a nice piece. He is. They need their goaltending to be better. They need other aspects of their group to be better. But I think that they're more than capable of doing that. And I don't think that you can just lump what a team does or doesn't do based on the trade deadline. Don't overlook the Rasmus Anderson ad.
Yeah, they got that done earlier. Yeah.
They got that done earlier. I wouldn't say that he's been at his best since the change from Calgary to Vegas, but I'm certainly willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And again, feel like he's one of those pieces that is eventually here in the near future going to find his stride and identify what his role is and execute that and make that team better. So, and if they don't, then guess what you can predict? Change. Right? Because that's what Vegas does. The question will be, where does that change start and where does it end?
Dregs, I'm glad you brought up change because this is kind of where I wanted to go next. So the Oilers get this win against Vegas, and then now they get Colorado and Dallas, and obviously two teams that have been phenomenal so far this year. There are already people in this market who want them to fire Knoblauch right now. And then, if they were to lose to Colorado and Dallas, I know we're going to be doing the show after those games, and people are going to be like, is it too late? So, I don't live in a world where that would be a reality. But I know a lot of people do. Do you think there's any chance that if the Oilers, are middling for 2 more weeks, they actually would do something like that at this time of year?
Well, I mean, you can't say it's impossible. You never say never, as the old cliche goes. Is there a hunger level? Yes, there's a hunger level. But when you're firing your coach, I mean, it's just one of the few bullets that you can play, especially this time of year. It would be because any of the changes that you made around the trade deadline haven't manifested, right? And I think it's way, way, way too early to make that prediction.
Yeah.
I mean, he's touched every position, he being Stan Bowman. Is it a coaching issue? Is it a roster issue? If it's a roster issue, fellas, then that's not a coaching problem, right? That's a management issue. And I feel like that's more likely to get addressed in the offseason. And, if the Oilers don't go deep into the playoffs, I think change is an easy prediction, but I don't believe it's a solution. And I always say the same thing when you're firing coaches. Who's better? Who would they hire? Would it be Peter DeBoer? Just because DeBoer is...
That's the name that always comes up. Yeah. That would be one.
Well, I think, look, Pete wouldn't be offended by me saying this. I mean, obviously he's a tremendous NHL coach. Hasn't been able to get his team to the Stanley Cup circle. Has not been able to. And if you, we can all remember the battle that he had with his goaltender, Jake Ottinger, in Dallas last year. And at that time, it felt like that was a coach that recognized he was at the end of his road in Dallas, right? And he was almost wagging his finger and saying, I dare you to fire me. And then he doubled down a couple of days later and ultimately got fired. So, if you're ownership, those are the questions that you would be asking. Okay, you want me to pay Chris Knoblauch to the remainder of his term. Oh, and then you want me to hire a $4.5 million coach who hasn't been able to win a Stanley Cup. And who is doing that? Is it Jeff Jackson trying to convince Daryl Cates? Is it Stan Bowman? I guess it would be both. Is it Paul Coffey? A
little bit of everybody.
A little bit. To me, it feels like that's end of the season stuff as part of an organizational review.
TSN's Darren Dreger joining us here, a GS Construction Hockey Insider on the Firehouse Subs hotline. I wanted to get to yesterday as well. Sabres Lightning treated to a hell of a contest. Sabres have put together some tidy streaks this year. They're second in the Eastern Conference right now, 2 points, I think, back of the Hurricanes. You mentioned you prevented Parayko from going there at the trade deadline. They do go and get Stanley and Shen from Winnipeg. Just given what this team is, what we've seen, I mean, we sit here and it's the Buffalo Sabres, so you can't
it's
really...
It's so weird to say it.
It's tough to drum into your mind that they are a legit contender. Is this just kind of fool's gold, regular season vibes are high type of thing, or this is actually a team built to really go some distance?
Well, they believe that they're built to go the distance. And, man, that can be a powerful, powerful tool, especially at this point of the regular season and more or less now, on the cusp of that deep playoff push. But they've got to prove it. I mean, they're a better team than they were. Let's put it that way. And, just to wrap a bow on the Colton Parayko situation, if your viewers and listeners haven't read it, check out Jeremy Rutherford's piece in the Athletic. I mean, he walks through, talks to Colton Parayko, talks to the agent Jerry Johansson, acknowledges how this thing all came together, and then ultimately why it didn't happen. But I like the work that Jarmo Kekalainen did because he was down the road deep on a Robert Thomas trade and then backed out because he felt like it was a supreme overpay. Okay, he backs away from that and then shifts over to either Colton Parayko or Justin Falk and believes he's got a deal in place with Colton Parayko. It falls apart. They run out of time. Buffalo says, time's up, Colton. You've got to make the call. And Parayko says, no, I'm not coming. Okay, well, he doesn't just sit there. kick line and goes, okay, well, there are other defensemen available. And he grabs two good ones from the Winnipeg Jets and Logan Stanley, who's an absolute beast of a human being out there at 6'7", covers a tremendous amount of ice, solid in the defensive zone. And you get a character guy, a depth defenseman like Luke Chen. So, sometimes, managers will go big game hunting, but it can be the deals that you don't make that you look back on and go, whew, thank God we didn't do that. I think they're a well-built organization, and last night was a bit of an indication of that. That one turned snarly. You saw that Brandon Hagel too. I mean, Hagel just went after Rasmus Dahlin. Just went after him, like popped him in the back of the head about 3-4 times. I don't think supplemental. He might get a fine or something along those lines, but a 15-goal affair and Buffalo comes out on top of Tampa Bay is just a wild one. It just shows that they can win hockey games in every way, shape, or form. And Lindy Ruff afterwards said, "I'm looking around seeing swollen faces, and I love it. Like, that's hockey."
That is a great line. Dregs, when's the next Ray and Dregs drop?
I believe tomorrow, and I'm not sure about later in the week. Normally Tuesday, Thursday, but some appointments getting in the way on Thursday. But the next one is tomorrow. So we did a post-trade deadline kind of look back on Friday night, but we'll revisit some of that. And with 20 games or so left in the regular season, I'm sure we're going to look ahead at what some of the top teams are facing and who might be the favorites moving forward.
Great stuff, man. Awesome conversation. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, you bet, guys. Have a good one.
There you go. That's Darren Dreger from TSN.